yeah, I think in May or June, I got out of the staking. And then in September, I had $1 million. So it was pretty absurd rise.
Wow. You know, the first thing that comes to mind, because we had Stefan on the podcast a few weeks ago, and
I
he
saw some
said,
of it.
right, awesome.
Yeah.
And he said one thing which I found really fascinating. I was thinking, like, whenever I have you on, I really want to ask your opinion on this, because Stefan said something along the lines of that you was the one who sort of arranged the team, right? You picked the people, sort of, you know, and you were the one who basically made the whole team click. And by team, I of course mean all the other German crew guys that you had, Stefan, Dominic, Ben CB, you know, all the others.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reflect on that? Like building this team, how did it happen? Was it deliberate?
um, so it was less of a super well thought through master plan and more of just something I enjoy doing. And in the process, I didn't even realize how unique it was compared to how I look backwards. Actually, I want to give credit to the the crew, which is maybe getting a bit forgotten now, but like the first German crew before us, there was kind of a generation of Germans before us. They practiced a similar togetherness, a similar approach. So it was like Fabian Quas, Rankemeyer, Phil Grusam, Koganov, um, Nick. There were like a couple people, they were traveling, like they were crushing online. They were traveling the high roller scene. It was mostly maybe like the um, my first years and like a couple years before that. So the more golden times, um, that they were like crushing big time too. And I think what was different in my case was that the era I started playing in was mostly online and it was tougher. So when we were playing mid stakes, Black Friday already happened. So there were no Americans, no soft games, or like less soft games. And so our approach was just more the internet kids who have to fight a little harder. And I think the selection was a bit harder too. Um, and there were less of these random come up stories of you just satellite into a tournament and you win $1 million and then from there like just didn't exist. There was no these tournaments didn't exist anymore. The prize pools were smaller, the tournaments were tougher. So overall there were less these moneymaker stories and more just grinders who grinded their way up and then just through continuous good play amassed a decent bankroll, um, and continue to improve and continue to play higher. So for me personally, what I think my unique approach was I never was the grinder to just sit down and like grind 60 hours a week and do that for 2 years. Like this was not something I really enjoyed. I always loved the game and the progress of improving in a game. And so the biggest part for me is also to learn the game. So I want to talk to other people about how they do it and see their perspective and especially like both weaker players, better players, top players. Like I don't doesn't matter. It's just about for me. It's really a lot about this interaction. And I think what I generally have is a good intuition for a high level, like a level of energy. So does this fit together? Is this synergetic, or does this, do these different people like do they work well together? And so I was just super active in forums. Like back then there were German forums and like then focus strategy and then a bit of 2+2, and I was just constantly interacting with people and picking out people to then communicate with them over hands. And then most of it happened via Skype. So I had like probably a couple hundred people I was in touch with irregularly. And then, 20, 30 people I was chatting to regularly. And then out of these, like there was this core group of people that I talked to like probably 2, 3, 4 hours a day. So it was really intense collaboration on that level, and that's how the team formed.
Mm, very interesting. You know what I find especially interesting here? Because it's always easy to do something that's already been done. When somebody runs a 4-minute mile or something like that, then everybody knows, okay, it can be done. So that's our new goal. Let's train for that. Before the way you approached the study process and before the way you approached poker career as such, there were not many examples. I mean, you've mentioned obviously this group of live players from Germany that were doing sort of the same thing, but it wasn't so well known, right? So
Yeah.
if we think about it, like a general poker player, approaches poker in a way that pretty much puts them in a rat race, right? You basically go into this routine of, like you said, playing 60 hours a week, and just let's go and let's continue, and that's what we're doing here, right? So to make a decision of actually doing completely something different, that's incredible to me, because now it wouldn't be surprising. I mean, there's so many other teams sprouting up, and so many other people try to follow your footsteps. But before you lay the footsteps, you sort of have to kind of arrive at the conclusion that, listen, I left poker, I left to study the game, I don't want to play 60 hours a day. I'm going to improve and I'm going to become the best I can. But where does the belief of, I can be one of the best, where does it come from?
I never, to be honest, and I can't remember really formulating this belief. So it was mostly, to me in the beginning, I think the reason why I grew so much. So the first 1-2 years I was struggling, but then the 1-2 years after that, when I had a foundation, when I found my environment, and when I started playing mid and high stakes online, I think the thing that really propelled me forward is I don't think so much as results in terms of how most other people think about it. So for me, it's this feeling of growth that I really was chasing. And this I could only achieve by getting better. And so it wasn't so much as like I want to be the best, as more like I want to have that feeling of getting better. So it's not, it's not the same. I didn't want to be the best for the sake of being the best. I just wanted to become better, like every day, every week, every month. And then the result after 3 years, 4 years of that was I was the best. So it was more about like when I was sitting there and I was like, I want to know how I can improve playing this hand. So I was looking for a solution, is how can I get input? And then I was like, okay, I was thinking, it's like, how can I, get more input? And then I posted it on forums and I send it to people on Skype and I talked to friends here I played here with, and I talked to my roommate, and I started to calculate stuff. And I was, like I was exploring all different options, how I can achieve that growth. And so I didn't care so much about the norm. Like I didn't care about the guys. Like I saw a lot of people around me just grinding, but that wasn't a thing that I enjoyed. So I was like, okay, I want to do that, and I focus on improving. And then that was tougher in the beginning because I played less, and therefore I had less short-term results. But in the long term, it was significantly better for me, and I think also for the people around me. But I think that was a good example with Stefan. Is like he's like, at the time he was probably the number one player I learned from, because he thought so different to me. And when we were talking together, like we were playing Zoom 500, and you have to imagine it's like we're both crushing it, but like from totally different angles. When we talked about a hand, like he was just always like, yeah, kind of the optimal play, probably something like this mathematically, and I'm just like, yeah, but the guy never has it, and and it's just watching this conversation, because I think it expanded our horizon in both ways. Like on the one side, that he started questioning his frameworks, his beliefs, his ideas, and explored new perspectives and opened his mind. And on the other side, that I just fundamentally became a lot more sound, and like that his very, very structured thought process helped me to get more substance to like these feelings that I have, and this intuition. And so I think, I mean, this is just one example of a collaboration. And then now imagine you add in 6, 7, 8 other perspectives, and you just get this variety of input that leads to this amazing outcome. So
I remember there was a story that you took like a prolonged break, like a five month break or something like that to go around the world. Um, can you expand on that? Because like if I remember correctly, the story was that you were working really hard on your game. You were playing a lot, and at one point you just realized this is too much. I'm burning out. I need a break. And instead of going to the cinema and going like for a weekend somewhere, you just decided, okay, I'm gonna go around the world 5 months. Let's go.
it's I've done this like what you described. It was a bit different, but what you described happened at a later point too. So I've taken extended breaks 4 times. The first time was less out of was a bit more desperate. So the first time I took a long break was in the basically January 2013. So I quit my unit like in 2012. I quit my studies. I was playing staked. So two German mid high stakes players were staking me, and they saw a lot of potential in me, but I was performing pretty poorly, and I was also mentally not in a great state, and it was really taking a toll on me to like continuously like in 2012 I set like the part where I was like, okay guys, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna grind this solidly now. I'm gonna start $2 tournaments, and I just want to move my way up. So I think this was the part where I was like, starting to take it more professionally, like less like just more strict and more disciplined. And so then a couple months after, I got in touch with these guys, and they started staking me for higher stakes. And so I started playing, $50 tournaments like Sunday Million, stuff like this. And I got into makeup quite deep. And I had lots of deep runs, but nothing really went through. And this really took a toll on my mindset. And so this whole combination of my surroundings disappointed because or they're scared or worried is the best word, because I stopped studying, so I quit university, and then staking didn't go well, and I was and with my friends also I didn't interact with them much anymore. And so I was like, what's nothing is really working. And so I was frustrated and down, um and so I just felt like I need a change. I need to refresh things somehow. And it was really important. I had a live score in Roswadov at that time, where I made some money for myself. So I had a couple €1,000 to my name, which was really a really big relief for me at that time. And so I booked a flight to South Africa on I think 1st of January or something like that, because I just want to get out. And yeah, then I traveled for 4 or 5 months. I've been to South Africa, to Asia, traveled around in Europe, and that was a really, really big, really important change for me, because I moved to Vienna in like 4 or 5 months later, and from then on it just went absolute straight up. I went out of the, yeah, I think in May or June I got out of the staking, and then in September I had $1 million. So it was pretty absurd rise.
Wow.